stand by for action.
Thank you for joining me. My name is Dave Miller. I am the Unpleasant Blind Guy. Now we'll continue our close examination of Brexit momentarily. Before we do that, though, I want to cover something, and that is the inauguration, not of a president, but of a new football league. And for you non-sports fans, this will have some societal consequences. I'm speaking, of course, of the Alliance of American Football. They had their inaugural games on Saturday, February the 9th. Now this is being played off as a developmental league for the NFL. There's only one problem with that. The NFL has had the money and the resources to do this sort of thing for 40 years, and they haven't done it until now. This is a direct result of the boycotts of the NFL that have taken place since their players began disrespecting both our law enforcement officers and our nation, and since the NFL, on the whole, decided to do nothing about it. Now, the game I saw was between the San Diego Fleet and the San Antonio Commanders. Now, while the Fleet had some pretty good red zone defensive plays, the San Antonio Commanders obviously were the better team and won the game. Now, I know what some people are going to say. They, like I, are going to remember the old World Football League and some of the other ventures like the XFL, which were tried and failed. They'll say, okay, sure, I love my country, but I'm not going to watch bad football, and I resent you implying that I'm not a good patriot unless I do watch bad football. Well, guys, I'm into the AAF because I looked at a game and it's good football. It's college to pro level football. It's the kind of professional football that you would expect to see from teams that haven't had a lot of time to practice together and develop programs. The football was pretty good in the inaugural game that I saw, and it will improve. Now, I personally had not, until Saturday the 9th, seen a pro football game since the 2015 Super Bowl. No, I didn't snatch a look here and there at a Patriots or Cowboys game. I stuck with my resolve to boycott an organization that has chosen to bend its knee to the left. I can tell you, people, that it's worth the time. Now, it appears that most of the games are going to be on pay channels, and I, for one, am too cheap to do that, but they won't all be. And when they're on regular television, I'll be watching, and I hope you will too. If you liked pro football before Colin Kaepernick, you'll like the AAF. To any skeptics out there, I would say give it a chance. And remember, next year, the XFL will be starting up again, and hopefully this time their football will be better as well. People, we have to show the left, with our patronage and with our money, that disrespect of our national institutions is unacceptable. And partaking of AAF games is one way to do it. Now on to the main subject of this program. And remember, everyone, that source documents for these programs can be found at UBG Contact on Twitter. That's where you can contact me with comments, questions, show suggestions, also American suggestions. You can also get hold of me as Dave Milner on Facebook, the Tea Party Community and MeWe, and a Magador on Trumptown and Gab. You're going to hear the second part of the English Defense League radio show for January the 20th, 2019, where Jeff Mitchell and I further examined Brexit, and this time discussed political machinations and backdoor maneuvering that the left used to try and stop this freedom movement of the people. Here we go. Now, Jeff, I've got a Paul Watson audio that I want to play. It has to do with the Yellow Vest protesters, what you were talking about. And guys, this is relevant because it's important. This is from his YouTube page. This one is what they're not telling you about the Yellow Vest protesters. And give this a listen. This all has to do with Brexit and with opposing the super state or the stupid state, whichever one you want to call it, folks. And yes, to my American brothers and sisters, as Jeff said, this is very similar. This is very important. This is something you should pay attention to. Here we go.
The French government is so terrified of the Yellow Vest movement, they're debating new laws that would criminalise all unauthorised protests, meaning you would need government permission to protest the government, otherwise known as dictatorship or martial law. Protest leaders are now being handcuffed and abducted in the night, like something out of Stasi East Germany. Yellow Vest organiser Eric Drouet was arrested and faces trial for, quote, organising an undeclared demonstration while meeting with friends at a restaurant. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, 2011. Paris, 2019. When your city looks like a screenshot from an apocalyptic video game every weekend, something's gone drastically wrong. On Saturday, Caen looks more like a battlefield than a city. The Virgin Antifa rioter versus the Chad French rioter hides behind a mask, poses no real threat to authority, just breaks shit with no purpose, sports a sexy yellow vest, caused actual change, breaks shit because he's fed up with taxes. Now you know I don't advocate violence, and this guy claims he was angry because his wife got tear gassed. But when Christoph Dettinger, despite being targeted by the media and authorities, doxed and having his home raided, becomes an overnight icon, you know whose side the public are on. I don't want to see Paris torn up, but when Antifa attacks banks, the left cheers. When yellow vests do the same, it's a dark harbinger of a fascist takeover. But President Macron is a globalist authoritarian, and the only way authoritarians know how to react to disobedience is with violence. But the underpaid and overworked French police will eventually join their fellow countrymen, and the king will have no clothes. As Tom Luongo writes, the Yellow Vest movement is coffin nails for the EU because it illustrates how the EU is a scam and all of its policies were designed to do exactly what it's done: impoverish the working classes, enrich the aristocracy, and enforce it through a Byzantine bureaucracy that makes the world of Terry Gilliam's Brazil look like a Toyota factory floor. Now Yellow Vest activists are tearing down EU flags. When he was elected, Macron was hailed as the saviour of globalism. Little over a year later, and his approval rating is at 23%, while his citizens are using forklift trucks to smash into the Ministry of Finance and Economy building. Meanwhile, the establishment has set in motion a character assassination of the small but growing Yellow Vest movement in the UK. Ramona MP Anna Soubry was called, oh my god, she was called a Nazi, right, prompting a contrived, hysterical media narrative that new laws need to be passed to prevent the abuse of politicians, because Anna Soubry would never smear ordinary working class people as Nazis or fascists, would she?
These are fascists, 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 fascists.
Owen Jones is the voice of the working class. These gentlemen were just the wrong kind of working class. Yeah, where was the outrage when Jacob Rees-Mogg's children were being abused by vile left-wing thugs?
Your daddy's a totally horrible person.
How about Nigel Farage's family being repeatedly attacked and abused?
So there is a real double standard here, that those of us that have taken on the establishment have to endure the abuse. Those within the establishment get a taste of it, and suddenly they want the law changed.
The left has been pulling stunts like that for years, but as soon as one establishment MP gets a bit of lip, you all freak out and wet the bed. Give me a break. A right-wing AfD politician in Germany is beaten almost to death by left-wing terrorists, and it barely makes the news. While every screaming top headline for 2 days was about someone being mean to Anna Soubry, and it was all part of a coordinated scheme to digitally assassinate one of the leaders of the UK Yellow Vest movement. Social media accounts banned, PayPal accounts deleted, doxing, journalists harassing their elderly parents, thousands of jihadists roaming our streets every day, people being stabbed to death every single day. Gotta get those dangerous 13-year-old girls off the streets though. Then there's this bizarre footage out of Holland which shows a woman wearing a yellow vest being dragged away from a baby stroller by police. The incident was apparently some kind of police training or social experiment, but it's disturbing nonetheless. Basically, the yellow vest is the new anonymous mask. It's a unifying emblem for anti-establishment fervour across Europe. And it seems the only thing more provocative than yellow vests is German women who wear their hair in braids. There's also speculation raging, which is unconfirmed at this point, that governments are already conspiring with mainstream media networks to release pre-written stories if tensions escalate that will do everything possible to minimize the chance of events being seen as a European spring. We've already seen mainstream TV channels in France photoshopping and censoring anti-Macron protest signs. The Yellow Vest movement utterly terrifies the elite because it unites aspects of both the left and the right. As French philosopher Alain de Benoist points out, the Yellow Vest movement is historic because it unites people with shared grievances from both sides of the political spectrum. Let's get one thing clear. The reason the establishment hates the Yellow Vest movement is because the establishment hates the working class. The reason why left-wing mouthpieces like Owen Jones and lovey celebrities hate the Yellow Vest movement is because they hate the working class.
The working class are not capable of making important decisions. That's why they are the working class, instead of leaders and professionals.
You spent decades disingenuously pandering to the working class while feeling entitled to their vote, while offering them nothing but political and economic betrayal in return. Standards of living sunk, wage growth stagnated, fuel prices skyrocketed, and communities were destroyed, thanks to your myopic insistence on importing millions of migrant wage slaves. Now the working class have finally got wise to it and withdrawn their support, prompting your thinly veiled disgust, elitism and snobbery to be fully revealed in all its fetid repulsiveness. I don't know where the Yellow Vest movement is going, but you can bet for a fact that the establishment's response is going to become more and more brutal, proving once again that globalism can only be pursued at the expense of the freedoms, prosperity, and dignity of ordinary working class people.
Well, he sums it up, didn't he, Dave? Well done, Paul. Did a great job there. Quite a bit. I think he spoke volumes of the way it is. It's the hatred of the working class people, you know, against the establishment, the globalists and the elitists. And we've always said that, though. This isn't nothing new. It's always been the same. There's always been them. There'll always be us. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. It's the way that it's always been. As you say, the globalists get much richer, the elitists get much richer, and the poor just get poorer. And no benefits, you know, like what we should, most of us should be. I mean, you know, the pension in the UK is a lot lower than all the other European countries, though. Did you know that?
Yeah.
It goes to show you, doesn't it? But worked hard all their life. And come to, you know, the pension, they get the lowest out of them all. The Germans, the French,
right?
You name the European countries, and now how dismal pension, because that's what it is. Unless you've put things in place earlier on, the state pension, it's very hard to survive on. Most of us do, but it's difficult. We do get problems, you know, financially. I know. I've been there.
Sure.
I know exactly what happens, and then you put yourself in debt, and et cetera, and it, the wandering circle just increases and goes on. But Dave, I've got to admit, Paul Watson, he's bang on it every time, isn't he? He does see it in the same eyes as what most of us do. But thank you for that, Dave. It's the first time I've heard that as well, so it was appreciated.
Now, I just figured it out, by the way, Jeff. The amount of money, Jan told us about this on Thursday, the amount of money that migrants get, the amount of money migrants get, brother, is £37.50, 37 pounds and 50 pence, okay? At the current exchange rate, well, at the last exchange rate, which I looked at a couple of days ago, that's $60 American a day. Now, for you guys in the States, now, you go, well, $60 a day isn't that much. They have to pay for rent and blah, blah. No, they don't. They don't have to pay for rent. They don't have to pay for medical care. They don't have to pay for anything like that. Okay? They get free housing when UK veterans are left to sleep out in the cold, and UK pensioners, indigenous people, are told, well, you know, you can just go out and sleep in a sleeping bag. We don't care. For the migrants, free housing for you. And, oh, by the way, here's the equivalent of $60 a day. Think about that, sports fans. $60 a day just for being migrants and voting labor, which is basically it. And don't think in the States, guys, don't think that the lefties, the Democrats, don't want to do the same thing. That's what this MNCOM idea of theirs is all about. And all of this free everything that people like Ocasio-Cortez and these other nutbags are trying to push through. They're trying to do that and open up the borders at the same time. It's the same thing Corbyn wants to do, and it's going to completely and utterly wreck the economy. And the only people that will have anything at the end are going to be the very people Jeff is talking about and Paul Watson was talking about, the elites, the nose in the air, fancy pants, fat cats, and they're going to want to rule over everybody else, and what they'll rule over will be a blasted ruin. And that's it.
Yeah, there'll be whatever happens, Dave. In the end, so-called elitists will. They say, how the mighty fall. You hear the biggest thump in the world when they collapse, and they go crying about it, because that's what happens, because they don't know how to survive, Dave. They've not used the survival tactics like most of us have had to be. It's just something that you do. Surviving in this world, you've got to know the art of survival. They do not know the art of survival, so when it all comes crashing down around them, they won't know. They won't.
They never.
They're
never know.
People that normally are around them will be gone. So they'll all be by themselves and not knowing a clue how to survive. And they will.
They can't.
Let's be honest. They will soon fade away because they can't sustain themselves. They don't know how to go out there hunting or anything like that, which most of us
they can't
know
grow anything.
Anyway, it's just something that's passed down from generations. We know. I mean, when you need to eat off the land, and you need to catch things, and etc. You know how it is. You know
well,
the
certainly,
way the world works, Dave.
Well, they can't grow anything, they can't build anything, they can't make anything, and all they can do is sit on their high horse and try and rule over everyone. Now, Jeff, I'm going to read this story here. This is the real meat of what this show is all about. This is the attempt, by the way, guys, to hijack this Brexit process that we read about in the last story, but this has a little bit more detail, okay? And this here is by Joe Middleton for the Mail Online. Okay. Now, the headline on this one is Revealed: the secret plot between House of Commons clerk and Dominic Grieve to suspend Article 50 by hijacking Parliament's agenda. See, they're going to try it that way. All right, now I'm going to scroll down a bit and get these bullet points here. Okay. One group, now this is a two-pronged attack, people, on Brexit. One group is led by a Tory former minister named Nick Bowles, and the senior Labour MP, Yvette Cooper, is attempting to block a no-deal Brexit. A second group, led by former Attorney General Dominic Grieve, wants to go further and suspend the Article 50 withdrawal process. International Trade Secretary Liam Fox warned of a political tsunami if the government fails to deliver on the 2016 referendum vote. Okay? Downing Street today slammed moves by rebel MPs to frustrate Theresa May's Brexit withdrawal plans. Two groups of MPs are said to be planning to table amendments that could hijack the Commons agenda to thwart the Prime Minister's proposals. Normally, the government has control of what is debated and voted on in the Commons, but the plotters want to suspend the normal rules, this is how they'll get around it, Jeff, to put backbenchers in charge. One group, led by Tory former Minister Nick Bowles, and the senior Labour MP Yvette Cooper, is attempting to block a no-deal Brexit, something Mrs. May strongly opposes. A second group is being led by the former Attorney General Dominic Grieve, who wants to go even further and suspend the Article 50 withdrawal process as reported by the Sunday Times. All right, The paper said it had obtained leaked emails showing that Mr. Grieve had been in secret communication with a Commons clerk. See, this is how they get this stuff done, guys. They get it done through procedures. With a Commons clerk of bills, Colin Lee. All right, remember that name, guys, to discuss how it could be possible to suspend Article 50. Clerks advise MPs on all sides how to write amendments that meet Commons rules. They also help Speaker John Bercow make rulings in the chamber. Now that has to do, guys, as I scroll down, with who gets to talk, how bills are passed, and things of that nature. These are civil servants, and what they do is extremely important. And it works in the same, in some cases, in the U.S. Congress. It's just done by, like, different staff people. But these people are not elected. Now, let me continue. Downing Street described the moves as extremely concerning and said they undermined the need for MPs who supported Brexit to vote for it in the House. A number 10 spokesman said, the British public voted to leave the European Union, and it is vital that elected politicians deliver upon that verdict. Any attempt to remove the government's power to meet the legal conditions of an orderly exit at this moment of historic significance is extremely concerning. This news should serve as a reminder to those MPs who want to deliver Brexit that they need to vote for it. Otherwise, there's a danger that Parliament could stop Brexit. The report comes as Mrs. May prepares to brief cabinet ministers on her talks with other party leaders and senior MPs following the crushing defeat of her Brexit deal last week in the Commons. In one email sent on Wednesday, Mr. Lee was said to have made clear that the aim of the plan was to delay Brexit. What follows is just for you, and you will understand the terms, he said. See, this is some skullduggery up in here, people. We have been thinking that legislation is needed, but it occurs to me that substantive motion, say calling for Article 50 extension, could be made. In a statement, a House of Commons spokesman said it is common practice for clerks to provide advice to members on the drafting of many items of parliamentary business, such as bills, motions, and amendments. This advice is provided on a rigorously impartial basis. We do not comment on individual cases. Strictly speaking, it's true that that's exactly what these staff people do, not only in the House of Commons and the House of Lords in the UK, but in Congress in the United States. But that can be used for all sorts of skullduggery, and this was being used for that. So they're just trying to cover their asses. Now, to continue with the story, Mrs. May is due to make a statement to MPs on Monday, setting out how she intends to proceed with Brexit after the tumultuous events of last week. And those ain't over yet, folks. She will also table a neutral motion, which is expected to attract a flurry of amendments from MPs, which will be debated and voted on January the 29th. So hold on to your arses for that one, guys. With feelings running high, the pro-Brexit International Trade Secretary Liam Fox warned of a political tsunami if the government fails to deliver on the 2016 referendum vote. Right? He also hit out at ministers calling for Mrs. May to rule out a no-deal Brexit, saying the most stupid thing possible in a negotiation is to give away your strongest card. Writing in the Sunday Telegraph, Dr. Fox said failure to deliver Brexit would produce a yawning gap between Parliament and the people. Now, that's a very important statement, guys. I want to read that again. Okay? Failure to deliver Brexit would produce a yawning gap between Parliament and the people, a schism in our political system with unknowable consequences. Now, that is a dire friggin' warning, everybody, and we're going to discuss that later. The reaction of the Question Time audience would become a political tsunami. It is time for MPs to deliver on the promises they made. It is a matter of honor, guys, and a matter of duty. Yeah, I know that the left doesn't like to hear the word duty. They think that means excrement. No, it doesn't. It means doing what you're supposed to do. Now, I continue with the story. In a letter to the Telegraph, 50 Tory Association chairmen and other senior grassroots figures said the party's 2017 manifesto stated no deal was better than a bad deal, and failing to honor that pledge would be a breach of trust with voters and party members. Meanwhile, Commons Speaker John Bercow said to be considering abandoning his plans to step down this summer after cabinet ministers threatened to deny him a peerage because of his alleged bias against the government over Brexit. See, it's all about the honors with these people. It's just stupid. The Observer reported that friends of Mr. Bercow, who had been in contact with him, recently said he was now seriously reflecting on whether to stay on, possibly until 2022. Oh, goody. It follows reported briefings last week by government that someone who had cheated centuries of procedure should not expect to be elevated to the House of Lords. That's a burn if I ever heard one. All right, I'm going to scroll down again, guys. The SNP's Westminster leader has said that the Prime Minister needs to fundamentally change her position to end the Brexit deadlock. Ian Blackford has written to Theresa May to say that it would be completely unacceptable for her to propose only cosmetic changes to her EU withdrawal plan after it suffered a crushing defeat on Tuesday. Mr. Blackford met with Mrs. May as she held talks with other leaders after surviving a confidence vote on Wednesday by 19 votes, guys, and said that he is willing to meet her again as long as the discussion focuses on 3 key points. He said any future talks must see the UK government focus on extending Article 50 to stop the clock on Brexit, bringing forward legislation for a second referendum, EU referendum, and taking a no deal off the table. The guy's a complete pile of crap. You shouldn't talk to him at all. Mr. Blackford said with the clock ticking, it is concerning that there has been little indication so far that the Prime Minister understands the implications of the defeat she suffered last week and the steps that now need to be taken. That's in his opinion. It would be completely unacceptable for Theresa May to propose only cosmetic changes to the deal, which had been so decisively rejected by the Parliament. The Prime Minister has had 2.5 years to listen. She now has to show she is willing to engage with ideas and change her position. No, she does not when it comes to the people's vote. That's why it is hugely concerning that media interviews given by cabinet ministers such as the Secretary of State for Scotland seem to be closing down options instead of opening them up. In other words, opening up options where the UK stays in the EU. The Prime Minister is spending the weekend at her official country retreat. Oh, well, wouldn't it be nice to have a country retreat, Jeff? At Chequers, working on a statement to MPs on Monday, setting out her approach following the overwhelming rejection of her Brexit deal. Mr. Blackford said, pressing ahead with another proposal that is certain to be defeated would be reckless, waste more precious time, and will lead to further economic damage and uncertainty. Yeah, that's hilarious coming from a lefty. Now to continue. The Prime Minister needs to fundamentally change her position. A Downing Street source said the Prime Minister was clear at the start of cross-party talks that there are principles underpinning these talks. These principles are that we make a smooth and orderly transition. We need to reach a consensus around a deal that respects the results of the referendum. And it needs to be a consensus that can command a majority in the House of Commons. Well, that last one is crap because it's never going to do that. And there you are. That's the left's huge attempt to try and hijack Brexit. Right there, man.
Yeah.
Diabolical? Absolutely. Your comment?
Of course it is. And as I said before, it's unconstitutional. It goes against the will of the people. And also, Parliament will cease to exist. If anything like that happens, Dave, people won't vote. People refuse. In fact, it'll be down to the people to close Parliament down and to re-establish a new way forward in politics, because it shows that our democratic rights, if otherwise, our democratic rights, our vote means nothing. As far as I'm concerned, if our vote means nothing, they mean nothing, and they should cease to exist where politics is concerned. And we need honest truthfulness with politics instead of what we've been seeing for the last 100-odd years. And that will be, and not only that, you are talking about revolution, Dave. Countries that have revolutions for far less constitutional thing what the politicians are proposing.
Right.
To go against the will of the people. They do so at their peril. That's a very dangerous precedent that they take there, Dave. And do they really understand when we say peril, what that really means? That's
I don't think they do, Jeff.
Danger.
No, I don't think they do understand. Yeah.
They do.
I don't think they do.
They are too thick.
Yeah.
But they will soon understand when they're hauled out in front of the people and frog marched to, say, the court, like Nuremberg court trials, because you do that, this is going to have democratic rights. And it's down to in the end, it'll be the people versus the politicians. And there's no debate.
It already is.
Yes, it'll always be us.
Yeah.
And we will bring them to justice, because that is, justice needs to be served. If they do something like that, there'll be so many people, you're talking about millions and millions of people. They think that they can handle millions and millions of people on a rampage. They're wrong. They're sadly wrong. And let's give it a shout out to all politicians who might listen to this radio show. Just be wary of what you are doing. Just remember, there's a hell of a lot more of us than you. And we are pissed off. So be prepared. You do go against our will, you will see things that you would never thought you're going to witness. It's not a threat. That's not a threat. It's a bloody promise. There you go, Dave.
Well,
I think I've
Jeff,
clarified.
It just shows to go you. Yeah, it just shows to go you, really, how weaselly these people can be. They try and use points of procedure to basically short-circuit the will of the people.
I mean, my goodness me, you had this problem with the United Kingdom at the time with the King George, whatever his name was. That's why you bloody went to war. Similar thing. Part of the revolutions are called through.
Part of the reason, yes, Jeff, is the people get ignored, and you have, and this is very similar, right now in the UK, you guys have a parliament that has chosen to separate themselves from the people. I think Fox is quite right. You have a Leave population, and you have a Remain parliament. Okay, and they have chosen to set themselves apart from the people. And I can tell you again, I don't want to be threatening or anything like that, but I'm just saying that historically that never ends well for those who separate themselves from the people. It may take a few years. But the results are never good.
Yeah, Beatrice Army, Dave. It won't take years. I mean, when revolution starts, Dave, you know how it goes. pitchforks, this, that and the other, and the momentum builds and builds, and it's overwhelming. That's exactly where we could be in the not-too-distant future. And it won't take years, Dave. It won't take years, because people already protesting on the streets. Look at Leeds. Thousands of people turned up. The police was overwhelmed. So you imagine the momentum, and they try to change laws, what the French are trying to do. Then you're open to open revolution, and on a scale that this country's not witnessed. We haven't witnessed in our time anyway, Dave.
I almost feel sorry for the legislators in France that think they can legislate away the people's right to demonstrate there. That's not going to work. They need to look back about 240 or so years to see how that worked the last time something like that was tried. If they don't want to look back that far, look back about, 25, 28 or so years to what happened to the Ceausescus. You can't separate yourself from the people in this way and play silly games, because whether you think so or not, the people are not stupid. We have this problem in the States as well. We have a political class that thinks that the people are stupid. All they have to do is get out there and talk about identity politics and this kind of crap, and they're going to reel in the useful idiots. And there are useful idiots out there that they will reel in. But it doesn't take that long before the real people begin to look around and notice that they're the ones being forgotten, and the ones who claim to be working for the people are separate from them. Look at Bernie Sanders, Jeff. I don't live in the best neighborhood there is here in Burlington, Vermont. I'll tell you that right now. But Bernie Sanders, where does he live? In $1 million house over on Lake Champlain. Very nice. There's your man of the people right there.
Got a wall built around him as well, Dave. He's got a wall around him.
I don't believe the house has a wall, Jeff, but it is separate from the people. When the 2016 election was over, Sanders had a brand new car, and that also was when he bought his house. And take Nancy Pelosi over here. She's worth, the last time I heard about her worth was in 2016, so it's probably more than this now. She's personally worth $9 million, and she's never held a job outside of government in her life. And I can guarantee you, representatives in the United States Congress don't make that much money. Not really. And yet she's got $9 million. And in a story I saw, Jeff, it's unconfirmed, but a story that I saw was apparently she had something like 13 or so of her family members she wanted to take on this European trip. Why? Okay, if this was supposed to be an official U.S. congressional fact-finding public relations tour thingy, what are her family members doing hanging on? This is the exact thing that the UK Parliament is doing. Give us, give us our...
Is that the word, Dave?
Yeah.
Slush banding.
Yeah. Give us our money. Give us our backhanders, okay? And we're going to rule over you and tell you how things are going to be. It's just like in my current show, Jeff. We're going to go away into a closed room and negotiate, and then we're going to come out of our hole, and we're going to tell you how things are going to be. Well, it's got to be said to the would-be rulers that isn't going to... It never works, ever. No. They claim to be smart. Jeff. They claim to be intelligent. And yet, if you look back at history, it never works, ever.
I listen to Pelosi, and I listen to her like with a bucket aside of me, because most of what she says, it's like a fairy tale. She says the thing about the war is, I will just use lawnmowers to cut the lawns. What? Do you remember? Go back a while ago. I will use lawnmowers.
Right, okay, yeah.
Typical elitist type of thinking, isn't it, Dave? You know.
Oh, it is, yeah.
I will put her in a category of being a part of the elitist, because she does lead the charge on behalf of them.
I link her in with these a-holes in the Parliament who want to get rid of Article 50, who want to just say to the people, okay, 17.5 million of you voted for this. We don't care. We think it ought to be this way, not the way you want it. We want it this way, not your way. And you'd better like it, because we're going to make laws to make sure you like. Well, I got to say, that's not a formula for success. I agree with Fox on this particular issue. I mean, who knows what other kind of things he's into, because you can't trust any of these people.
I will say that my last saying about this tonight is that they go against the will of the people, as I said during the show, at the peril. The government will cease to exist. If they think that the people of this country are going to go along and be trod over, and like we have been for such a long time, and we've had a chance to vote to free ourselves and to make sure that a future looks more bright and breezy, better for the children. Because that's what it's all about, Dave. A lot of us, we're in our twilight years. But it's the future, what we leave to my great-grandchildren, my grandchildren, etc., the future generations. There's things that you need to stand up and be counted for, and I think I don't have to say this because I already know people are standing up. I'm being counted, and I've been counted for a long time. A lot of people stood up for what's going on in this country. Over the years, 10 years now, the EDL has been around, and we've always stood up for what's right, and we've gone against what's wrong. And that's what we've always done. But Dave, let me pass you the reins, mate.
And there you have it. An attempt on the part of the left to negate the will of the people in the UK, just as they try to do here in the United States of America. As our own new Congress is attacking our Bill of Rights on every front, the left in the UK are showing their disdain for the people who decided they did not want to be part of a superstate. Next time, panelist Jan Rennie will join Jeff and myself as we begin Part 5 of our closer examination of Brexit. And that is it for this time, people. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for listening, and may your God go with you. Goodbye. The Unpleasant Blind Guy is copyright 2019. Anno Domini. Now for Dave's Canes. Extras that help you navigate the new media world.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
From a public locker inside a dilapidated Long Island rail station comes a show designed to piss off liberals using truth, facts, and ridicule. The Lid Radio Show, featuring the conservative voice from the People's Republic of New York, the Lid himself, Jeff Dunetz. Tune in every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com. At Lid Radio, we fight for the truth, justice, and a good kosher T-bone. If you don't listen, Hillary Clinton might sneak into your bedroom in her housecoat late at night and blame you for her election loss. It's the Lid Radio Show with Jeff Dunetz.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. on shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
For 50 years, I've seen the American people blinded by corrupt politicians, a lapdog media, and deceptive Islam. The one thing the elites fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through Spreaker, iTunes, and SoundCloud, through SHR Media and the Western Free Radio Network, for half a century of experienced perspective on political and social issues, weekly on The Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender, ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon Radio Show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
Hey girls, Carry Girl Gear is here. More and more women every day are concealed carrying, participating in competitive shooting, and getting firearms training. It's not a boys' club anymore, and we don't have to shop in their stores anymore either. Finally, a cool and unique clothing line just for women. Dope tees and hats for the patriotic, concealed carry, and 2A girl. So what are you waiting for? Go check out carrygirlgear.com today.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.